Okay, so you've met this guy and you really hit it off, but you're not sure if you are the only woman that he is currently seeing. Stick with me and I will tell you the 5 signs to look for if he is dating other women at the same time as you. Hey everyone, I'm Renee Slansky. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is a cold, wet, rainy day outside and I have my cup of tea here. Now I want to talk about the fact of whether or not the man that you are seeing is seeing only you, or if he is seeing other women at the same time. When we get into a relationship, it always involves some sort of risk, and it's important to be able to minimize that risk so that we don't have heartache or rejection or feel that we're being led down the garden path only to be dumped or have this surprise that he's seen other women later on down the track. In the beginning of a relationship, how you feel or how that other person makes you feel is a real indication of where that relationship can actually go. I know that I say, when you get into a relationship that you shouldn't base it on how you feel, but rather just on choices to be able to make that relationship stronger. But when you're first dating someone, it really is about how you feel. Do they make you feel safe? Do they make you feel secure? Do they make you feel like you are the only woman that they are currently seeing? So I want to clear some confusion for you, and I want to give you 5 signs if he is seeing other women, then these sort of things will pop up. Number 1, there will be a sense of inconsistency. And what I mean by this is whatever he is consistent in is an indication of his character and his intention. So if he is consistent with being inconsistent, whether it's with communication, with text, with saying one thing and then doing something completely the opposite, then what it does is it sets this pattern of him really not being completely upfront and honest. And that might be because he has other women in the picture at the same time. You see, when you add more people to the picture, it becomes a little bit harder to remain consistent because there's more people and events and circumstances to think about. And so if he is constantly being all over the shop, or if he's saying one thing and then going back on that promise or rearranging all the time, or you just feel like it's a little bit of a roller coaster and there's no consistent growth or no consistent progress or peace, then there is the possibility that he does have other women in the picture as such. A relationship in the beginning isn't meant to be complicated, and it definitely shouldn't be full of games and lots of ups and downs. If it is too hard in the beginning, then chances are it's not going to get easier down the track. When you really like someone, they should be the only person and they should be your priority, just like you should be their priority. And so that's what makes it easy, because you don't have to worry about pleasing this person and trying to date that person and this person and that person. When they are seeing only you, they will have time and space to be consistent with you. Number 2, there's going to be a sense of lack of commitment. Now, I don't just mean that you have to know whether or not you're going to be going on that weekend away, but there will also be a lack of commitment in his words and his feelings and his actions towards you as well. So on one hand, you might feel that, okay, we can go out and we can hold hands, and then later on down the track, he might not feel comfortable holding hands in front of friends or in front of your family members. Or maybe there's a lack of commitment when it comes to what you're doing a couple of weeks in advance. Is he someone that is only ever able to book something last minute or confirm last minute because he always seems to have other plans or other things going on, yet you never really know what they are? It's not to say that you have to have full-on commitment when you start to get into a serious relationship with someone, but there needs to be some level of commitment to the effort that they are putting into that relationship, as well as to the transparency of where that relationship is heading. If the man keeps you in that limbo land and he can't ever make concrete plans with you, or he can't consistently always have some sort of committed effort to you, then there is a good chance that he's feeling a little bit spread thin, and that is because he's actually giving his time and energy to other women as well. Number 3, there's going to be a lot of ambiguity, and there's also going to be a lot of excuses. For example, if you keep him accountable to his behavior, such as not being able to commit or being inconsistent, or maybe he is, talking to other women, or he's still on that dating app, even though you guys have decided that you're seeing each other exclusively. And when you actually bring that up and you make him responsible for his actions, if he then turns himself into the victim, if he gets on the defensiveness about it, and if he starts to either deny it without sitting and talking about it in a reasonable sort of way, then chances are you're not the only one in the picture. When you first really start to see someone, it won't always be crystal clear because you're still getting to know each other, you're still testing each other to some point, and you're still setting those standards and boundaries. But at the same time, there still should be a sense that you are together, that there isn't this confusion about where you're headed and if you are seeing each other exclusively as well. Because what ambiguity does is it really creates a lot of confusion about that person and about yourself, because we start to wonder, well, am I second guessing myself? Am I jumping to conclusions? Am I overthinking this? If you have anxiety in the beginning of a relationship and it's purely because you're not talking about things, and once you talk about things, it progresses and you get the peace that you want, then that's fantastic. But if you have constant anxiety in a relationship, especially in the beginning, when it's meant to be fun, when it's meant to be transparent, when it's meant to be something that is exciting, when you're basically falling in love with each other, then it's not normal. If he is constantly making excuses or getting on the defensiveness every time you talk about something or address something, and you're not even doing it to attack him, you're merely just wanting to know because you have your standards and you're trying to communicate that to him, then him getting on that defense is really an indication that he is probably hiding something. Which brings me to point number 4. There will be secrecy. Now, when you first start dating each other, there's always going to be, a little bit of mystery about who he is and who you are. And that's what the exciting part about dating is about, because you get to know those pieces of each other. And that's why there needs to be some transparency so that, that mystery about each other isn't turned into secrecy, or it's not because you're hiding a certain part of your life. If he doesn't want to publicly acknowledge you, if he doesn't want to publicly acknowledge your relationship or the fact that you guys are together, or he doesn't hold your hand when you're around other women, or he doesn't want to add you on Facebook or Instagram as a friend, and it's not even to mark that you're in a relationship, but just to have you in that part of his life, then you really have to ask yourself, is he doing this because he's being guarded about the relationship, or is he doing it because he's actually hiding you from other women out there? Remember, there is a difference between privacy and secrecy. One is used to protect, the other is used to hide. When you're dating someone, it shouldn't be felt like you're hidden from everyone else, and it shouldn't feel that you're not allowed to express the fact that you guys are together. If he never wants to admit openly in public that you are together, especially if there are other females around, if he's hiding a certain part of his life from you but then using it as an excuse because he's like, oh, well, I just don't want other people to interfere, or if he is purposely hiding his phone or doing secretive behavior, then that could be an indication that he's actually interacting with other women as well. Now, the last thing that I want you to do is to go stalk him, okay? Or to jump to that conclusion. The best thing that you can do is keep him accountable to his actions by modeling the behavior yourself, encouraging the positive behavior that he does, but then also directly asking him if he is seeing someone else or why he thinks that's appropriate when it doesn't encourage trust. And the last indication is you will feel it. Like I said in the beginning of this video, how you feel in the beginning of a relationship when you really start to fall in love with someone and start to see them as, the only person that you are seeing, it really gives you an insight into whether or not this relationship is going to continue to go down a path which is healthy and which is fulfilling. If you're not feeling it from the beginning, if you have anxiety, if you have all your doubts, and you have all these questions in the beginning of a relationship, it's not a strong foundation to continue to build choices from that point. Ladies, we have a gut feeling for a reason. Call it women's intuition, call it whatever you want. Just make sure that that gut feeling isn't coming from a place of insecurity, that it's not coming from a place of jealousy, and that it's purely coming from a place where you know that you're whole without this guy, that you want to make sure that you're adding value to his life and that he's adding value to your life. And then if you're finding that there's a few habits and red flags that keep popping up consistently, then really you have to step back and ask yourself, is this the sort of man that I can trust and build a faithful relationship with? Well, there you go, girls. Just remember that the two biggest indications of a healthy relationship is peace and progress. And you shouldn't have to date a guy wondering if he's also dating 5 or 10 other women at the same time, or even just one other woman at the same time. You should be the center of his attention, just like he should be the center of your attention, because that is how a healthy relationship actually works. It shouldn't be about competing with all these other women and trying to convince him that you're the one for him. Don't forget, if you want to check out my free video on how to get a guy to commit without playing games and how to get him to chase you without manipulating him, then I do have the link in the bio below. In the meantime, subscribe to my YouTube channel, pass this video on to anyone that you think might need it, because we're all about sharing the love here. Don't forget to check out my blog, thedatingdirectory.co, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.